Oh, uh-oh. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's February 2nd, and we are just starting maple syrup season here in Pennsylvania. So I missed it by about 2 weeks last year, so I'm trying to get ahead a little bit this year and not miss too much of the maple syrup. So we've been having roughly 40 to 50 degree days and 25, 30 degree nights, so hopefully we can get some maple syrup flowing. Look, this is our tap hole from last year, and thought we had one more somewhere around here. This was our one from the year before.
Oh! Can I do the drill, please?
Yeah, you're so sweet. Let's go on this side of the tree this year.
Okay. Let's do it.
Do it to it. Okay, can you drill me a hole? Right there. Oh, that's great. Keep going. That's it. That tree's tapped.
Now another one.
We'll do another one. Yep. Look, I see our first drop. Where'd it go? Just keep watching.
I see doing.
Keep watching. Look, there it goes. You see it? That's your first drop of maple syrup this season. All right, guys, well, that's a wrap for tapping trees 2025. We ended up doing 5 maple trees on the lower part of the yard. We have 2 walnut trees behind us, one with 2 taps in it. So last year we got a little bit of walnut syrup, but it was definitely filling up a lot slower than the maple. So we're gonna try and do a couple more walnut taps this year to see how we do with that. But until then, we're just gonna let these buckets fill up and we'll go from there. Well, it's a beautiful day here and it's the end of week 1 for maple syrup season. So I brought out the old homemade evaporator from last year, and let's go collect what we have and we'll see how we did for this first week. All right, so we have our first row here, and not too bad. I mean, this first one a little bit light, probably just a few cups in the bottom there. Yeah, maybe half a cup, more like it. So this maple's not doing too well at this point yet. Much better on this one. Probably have 2 gallons or so in here. Really good producing tree. Very nice. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the rest of these 3 maple trees, and then we'll go check those walnuts up on the hill. Okay, well, I just got back from putting the walnut sap in the buckets. So here's our haul for the first week. Probably have about 5.5 gallons of this one, maybe 3 to 2.5 gallons in this one. So we'll call that 8 gallons of regular sugar maple sap. And then for the walnut buckets, we have probably about 5 gallons in this one, and I'd say 2.5 in this one. So I'd say almost 7.5 to 8 gallons of the walnut sap as well.
Welcome to the channel.
What are we doing today?
We're cut walls out
For the maple syrup.
for maple syrup.
Okay, well, that's pretty much a wrap, just in time too, because I'm pretty beat. Probably ended up with about roughly a truckload of wood. That was pretty good, more than enough last year. I'd say, I don't know, maybe a little bit more than a face cord if you're looking at it like that. Also found 2 really nice Osage orange crotch pieces that should make some pretty good bowls on the lathe. Good mixture on this wood of Osage orange, black cherry, a little bit of locust thrown in there, so should do pretty well for the evaporator. But you know, it's always about getting that heat and keeping it in there, which with that burn barrel isn't very easy. Also, just in time, had a beautiful sunset over here the last half an hour. I was working, so always enjoy that. Makes me really excited because of course our house site is just over there. So this is kind of what we have to look forward to, hopefully in the next couple of years. But of course that's a long way away and a lot of work between then and now. But until then, I will see you guys when we get this evaporator kicked up again. All right, welcome back. Good morning. It's a nice cold Sunday morning here in Pennsylvania, and it looks like we have some good weather throughout the day. So let's get our boil started. We're gonna get our fire going, and we have our 8 gallons of regular maple syrup, or 8 gallons of walnut maple syrup. So it should be an all-day boil today. Okay, well, after fighting with this fire for a little bit, we now have the main boiler going. Have a really nice bed of coals here. So I'll just be putting more and more into this most of the day. I have 2 pans of the maple here boiling off. And then over here, oh boy, with this, just never saw this before, but it's melting my pan lid. Didn't think it was that hot. Oh, uh-oh. Looks like I ran out of syrup in here. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm just gonna put that back. And start this one over with a different pan maybe. Yeah. I was not expecting this to boil off that fast. Okay, well, it's a couple hours later, and of course we just put the last batch of maple syrup on the wood evaporator. So really nice fire going in there now. This is the last of the 8 gallons. So I have my main boiler here and then the preheating pan back here. So once that gets a lot lower, I'll throw it in this front pan to kind of boil down. And then once it gets down to about a gallon or so, I'll take it inside and finish it on the stove. Over here, got a new pot since our other one melted. And I probably have maybe another 1.5 gallons of walnut down there to go through. And then there's probably about 1.5 gallons in here. So this, I just chopped this off. So still have a couple hours on the walnut, but once this maple is done, we will clean these pans out really good so we don't cross-contaminate our flavors. And then we'll switch up our walnut while I finish off the maple. So really exciting. You know, with that hot fire, it really made it a short day. It's really only been about 4 hours since I got the fire going. So that's good. That means we're boiling about 2 gallons an hour on the wood burner. I'd say maybe 3 gallons an hour. So pretty good timing, but we'll check back in with this when it's almost ready to go. Okay, well, it's pretty much 6 o'clock, so we're just finishing up with the actual maple syrup. The walnut's still going for a little bit, but we can finish this maple off on the stove. So this is pretty much what I just took off of the evaporator. So there's probably a 1/2 gallon in there. So I'll transfer it to this pot and then we'll go finish it on the oven. Okay, so we're in here on the oven now, and I basically just have the oven up, waiting for this to go back to a boil. And I'm just going to be watching the thermometer. It's right at about 150 now, and I'm just basically shooting for around 217 to 218 Fahrenheit. And that's when we know it'll be ready. Okay, we just hit 218 on this batch, so we are all done here. And take this, and we'll run it through this cheesecloth here for this other pan, and then into our syrup bins. Okay, and I'll just let this cool for about 5 minutes, just down to about 200 degrees or so, and then I will fill up our little maple syrup containers, throw the caps on, and well, that'll be it.
So we've hit a little less than 200. Now we're gonna put it in our jars.
It smells so good already.
I think we just have a little bit for the next one.
Nice little. perfect. Wow.
Easy enough.
Well, we just finished up the walnut, what we could do outside anyway, and it looks like we have about half a pot here, so about half of what we got with the maple syrup. So we'll watch this again, and we're shooting for more about that 218 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we will transfer it to the smaller pot and get this bottled up. Okay, well, let's see how we did. These are 16-ounce jars, it's saying, so I'd imagine we'd have at least one of these, maybe 1.5. This is much lighter maple syrup. This is more or less what I was expecting for the first week here. So I'll save this for tomorrow. We'll use it right away, and then this should seal and can be used anytime. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for week 1 of 2025 maple syrup season. It's about 6:30 now, so that took us about 6.5 to 7 hours of boiling and bottling our maple syrup for the year, at least for the first week. So I expect maybe 4 more weeks this season if we're lucky, but maybe more like 2 or 3 depending on how the trees are producing. But our final week 1 haul here is the 16 ounces of maple. We have an 8 ounce of maple, so 24 ounces total out of the 7.5 to 8 gallons we got. And then 7.5, 8 to 8 gallons of walnut. We ended up with about 16, and I would say another 3 ounces. So probably about 18 to 20 ounces on the walnut. So not too bad. The walnut is definitely lighter, so I'm assuming it's a little bit earlier in the production phase right now. So as the season gets progressively later, the sap will tend to get darker and more robust. But we'll check in again for weeks 2 and whatever else we can get, and we'll see how they compare. Well, we're back for week 2. We did our harvest, and for week 2 it looks like we have roughly 11 gallons of regular maple syrup from the maple trees, and I would say probably 7 gallons this week for the walnut. So let's get this boil started. Well, that finishes up week 2 boil. We ended up with 7 ounces of the walnut syrup and 30 ounces of the maple syrup. We ended up with a much darker color this week than last week, especially in the walnut, and still pretty good consistency. Excited to try again next week. So all that's left is just to clean the kitchen and do it all again next week. See you then. Well, it's warming up now, and it's the end of maple syrup season here in Pennsylvania. Rather than having you guys watch me do 2 more boils of the same thing, I figured I would just post our results from the last 4 weeks up here and see how we did with the maple syrup this season. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have given away most of the maple syrup already, so just friends and family always interested in having a little bit of fresh maple syrup. We do have a few bottles here left, and a mixture of walnut and maple. We'll probably give most of these away too, and we usually keep about 16 or 20 ounces or so for ourselves, and that usually gets us through the year. So I'd call this a successful maple syrup season, and I hope you enjoyed watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.